2025, that will be corrected on our agenda. It says 24. I call this Town of Hayward monthly board meeting to order. And we are going to start tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Okay, number 3 on the agenda is the approval of the January regular board meeting agenda.
Yes, I can.
Okay, just wait, I have to find those minutes, this is all messed up.
So we're looking at our January agenda. We're looking to approve right now.
Okay, hold on.
So I entertain a motion to approve the. Thank you. I have a motion. Can I get a second?
To approve the agenda.
Approve the agenda.
I'll move.
All right, I have a motion and a second to approve the January regular board meeting agenda. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. All those opposed? We're good. All right, number 4, approval of the December regular board meeting minutes. I think this is from December 10th.
We need to skip to that. If I can find, where are the minutes?
Some before.
Keeping the ARPA funds.
I got notes on mine.
That's right. Okay. First of all, the front page, we don't have the time, that it was 7 PM, that should be added. And then on page 5. No, it's right here. Usually it's up here. Oh, okay. On page 5, there is, under D, ARPA funds.
Mhm.
I have a copy of an email that I'll give to Brynn. I emailed her on November 14th, talking to her about all the departments, not just the fire department. So I would like the meeting minutes to be adjusted to say that law previously reached out to all the departments in person and via email. And I do have copies of the email to prove that. Because I was actually called a liar, said I was lying at the meeting by Mr. Kosterman, that I didn't reach out to the departments, and I did. So I brought a copy of the email stating that, just so you're aware of that. So I would like the minutes to be adjusted saying that I reached out to all the departments in person and via email.
Okay, so you're making a motion to approve the minutes with that
That
addition.
additional, and then striking the fire department and saying that law previously reached out to all the departments in person and via email. Here? Right here? To all departments? To all the departments and in person and via email. Just so that's clear that I reached out to everyone. And I'll give her a copy of that email. I didn't know she wasn't gonna be here.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor to approve the December regular board meeting minutes with Brenda's additions and subtractions.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to approve the December regular board meeting minutes with the changes that Supervisor Detloff has mentioned. Is there any further discussion on this issue? Okay, all those in favor of the approval of the December regular board meeting minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. So number 5, approval of the December 18th, 2024 special board meeting minutes. How does everyone feel about that? The
Special board?
December 18th. And we'll talk, one of the topics on that meeting is on the agenda tonight. We'll discuss.
I did not attend that meeting, so-
Make a motion to
I got a motion and a second to approve the December 18th, 2024 special board meeting minutes. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of approval signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. They're approved. Number 6, approval of January 3rd, 2024 special board meeting minutes.
I'd like to make an amendment to this as well. And it's on the second page. And it is right after it says Detloff suggested that the town hire, I want to strike the word just and put town constable or an officer. And I said that it is not a requirement to have a police department. It's right.
Section.
It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
So you're essentially, you're suggesting that we have,
No, I'm saying what I said.
oh, okay. I mean, in this,
It's saying that I said just and I didn't.
okay.
I said a town constable or a police officer, and that a department was not a requirement to have either of those.
All right, how about this? I'll make a motion to accept those minutes with your changes, barring that, again, with a lot of these, again, there seems to be miscommunication between what people think they're saying or saying and what's being reported, which I understand and I want to be accurate.
Right.
So,
There's one more addition.
Okay. let me finish real quick.
Sure.
Is that, I would say, again, if this is what we want to go forward, we can talk about amending these minutes, but then again, it's gonna probably have to be a review of, the audio recording, so we get everything worded exactly right, just so you know, that's probably the way that it should go.
Okay,
So what else are
want
you,
to table this then until?
well, what else are your, can we table that?
Because Carol should be added too, because she's the one who stated that using the county code enforcement officer could be used to
Okay.
enforce, and that's not in here.
So how about we have the clerk review that audio again, and we'll have that on next month's
Okay.
meeting to
I make a motion that we table the special town board meeting minutes from Friday, January 3rd, 2025.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I will.
All right, we have a motion and a second to table the approval of the January 3rd, 2024 special board meeting minutes. Is there any further discussion on this issue? If not, all those in favor of tabling those minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Okay, the special board meeting minutes of January 3rd are tabled. All right, number 7, rules of public participation. Again, coming up, whether it's under public comment or whether you're speaking on an agenda item, which is something the town of Hayward does let its citizens do. Please keep your statements cordial, respectful, and based on fact, not feelings or emotions. I appreciate that. I think that's probably about it right now. So, number 8, public comment. If anybody in the audience has any topic they would like to discuss right now that is not on the agenda, going to be discussed later, now's your chance to raise that issue. Is there anyone in the public who would like to speak about something that is not on the agenda? Okay, seeing nobody, we're moving on to number 9. Zoning. This is a CSM for Stracota. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. This was something I believe that the board and planning commission dealt with last month. But we have been approached by Attorney Kelsey to again have this on our agenda, and I'm hoping he can explain a little bit more details about what the issue is. So, Mr. Kelsey, if you would please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Stracota is appearing, I believe, this is a request of his attorney, so I will defer. Mr. Stracota, would you like to explain what you would like or what the change is, or would you like me to go forward? I'm not representing you, so I don't want to misstate what you would like.
Yes. Well, Mr. Chair and members of the town committee, I thank you for your time tonight. I'm Bob Stracota. I have been a property owner at 17076 North Linden Road for 40 years. I had a dispute with a neighboring property owner, actually two of them, the prior property owner and the current property owner, on a piece of property that we have resolved by agreeing to allow me to buy a lot, which on this map that should be in front of you, called Lot 1, and it has a garage on it. It has roughly 0.98 acres. And this, by selling this particular parcel to me with the garage, we are resolving a lawsuit that has existed by my doing, where I have sued Mr. Welsh, who owns the property called Lot 2 on this map, and Mr. Purdon, who was the prior owner. So this Lot 1 is a resolution of that dispute, and we'd like to move forward and ask you to approve give us an approval for Lot 1 as a means to resolve our dispute. And I now will turn it to Mr. Kelsey to see if he has any other additional comments he'd like to make relative to the dispute or this particular lot.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Mr. Strakota. What Mr. Strakota has said is actually true. He did start the lawsuit. We have now, through mediation, have reached an agreement. We were here previously, and it was a different outline for the resolution back. And now what we have is the outline of the area that he wishes to purchase from my client, which is Mr. Welsh. We are for that. This lot does meet all the county requirements, but it does not meet your requirement to have a minimum lot size of 2 acres. And this is just short of 1 acre as outlined by Mr. Strakota. There were some other things that he has talked directly with the zoning office, but I can tell you that this is the resolution we reached in mediation, and moving forward from there, it is a slightly different configuration. The configuration before showed a larger piece that was going to be Lot 1, but that was, for whatever reason, was not acceptable. And I can tell you both Mr. Purdon, who's represented by Attorney John Carlson, Mr. Welsh, who's represented by me, all three of the parties have reached this as the mediated resolution. You, at the last meeting, as Mr. Kurzweil said, approved a CSM, certified survey map, that was 2 lots. The certified survey map will still be 2 lots, so we're not creating any new lots or more lots with it. The original Lot 1, and my client who originally bought Lot 2 was a CSM that was formed more than 20 years ago. I think it was in 2000 when it was, and they received variances at that point because to put the storage buildings or garages on the lots. And this is the resolution that we've reached regarding litigation. Thank you.
I have a couple questions. Does anyone else have a question first?
I'm trying to remember if this was, we were discussing that it should be connected to the Lakeshore property, because the Lakeshore property, was there a Lakeshore property
Across the
issue
road,
here?
maybe?
There was, at that point, when they received the ordinances, the PERD parcel, which is what my client has, Mr. Welsh lives right across the road, so we did not need that deed restriction. And Mr. Strakota lives just very across the road for his current lot. There was some other, without getting into the lawsuit, but you're right, they were there, but they did not need it because there was actually a variance granted to both those parties, both those lots, the original lots, back in 2000 or 2001, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct.
This is Carol. I have a question.
Sure, Carol.
Was this where they said that the land had to be sold with the lot across the street with the 2? Did we have that just last month?
Yeah.
Yeah, originally, yes.
And they said that the lot on Linden Road across the street had to be sold with the lot with the 2 garages.
I think that might be correct. I'm not sure. I wasn't a part of that. I had hired Jesse Susan to do the survey. And Jesse made a decision on his own to include this separate lot 1 that's drawn in front of you and include it with the larger lot that has my garage on the other side. And that won't work because I have 2 lots that are on the lake shore side that are on the opposite side of Linden Road. One has a home, and that home in the garage that you see on lot 1, the larger lot 1 parcel with CSM number 6175, this lot is tied to the house that exists. This other lot, the new lot that we're asking you to approve, the county is going to tie to the lot that does not have a house on it. And that house already has several buildings on it, but it does not have a home on it. So the county has said that if I choose to sell or rent or do something different with this lot 1, this new lot 1 we're asking, that it has to be with an adjacent property owner, and there are 3 adjacent property owners, none of whom right now are interested in owning this. Or I will have to build a house on the lakeside lot for this particular garage. So each house would have its own garage at some point in the future if I built a home on the lakeside lot.
So again, just for my clarity, okay, last month we had a CSM for 2 lots. There's gonna be lot 1, lot 2, and lot 1 of that was gonna have both garages on it on the north part. Now we're talking about having 3 lots where we had 2 before. And we're carving out this little portion with the 1 garage, correct? Okay.
Correct.
And I understand too, my concern is with this, obviously there's a lawsuit going on, you guys, this is your mediation. But again, my main concern with this too is that we're making a substandard parcel that is not the 2 acres. And again, what prevents someone from selling this in the future and then building a home on it? I mean, really. So I guess my concern, that's my main concern looking at this. So I don't know if this is something that maybe should have gone through the planning commission too, because it seems like something that they maybe would want to revisit since there was a change to the CSM. But we had this on the agenda because you stopped in and we wanted to talk about it. So that's my main concern. I think I understand what's going on. I'm not really sure why it's happening, but I understand what's the ask is here. And I guess my main concern in that is creating what a residential lot that would be, technically a back lot to a lake lot, but it would be a substandard lot, not the 2 acre minimum that the town of Hayward requires. So I guess those are my concerns with it. I guess I understand that this is what the lawyers and everybody have come up with for the best resolution to the problem that is going on, and I guess I can understand that. I just worry about, potentially down the road. And so that's kind of my point of view on this at this moment.
I guess I have a question.
Sure, give me 1 second here. Does the applicant, I mean, you don't have any intention of actually starting to build anything right now? And again, this lot's gonna be owned by you, but not necessarily tied to a lake lot per se, or, I mean, unless you resurvey stuff, correct?
It is, there's no plan to build on it. And there is a plan potentially. One of the owners of land that abuts this on the lakeside has some interest in acquiring it at some point. They can't afford it right now, but they have interest in doing so. And I would be inclined to sell it to them because I don't need 2 rather large garages. These are really large garages. But I can only do that if I have a lot that I can sell to them, which is this new lot 1 that we're trying to create. And I do not have any plan to build on the second lake lot that I currently own. I just haven't had a need to do that. That land's been sitting there for 40 years and it's just been sitting as a wooded lot, and I've kept it that way for preservation reasons.
Okay, thank you. Do you have a question yet, or?
I guess I would go with your thought. I know, I realize this is a mediation, but this is pretty complicated right now and it changed completely kind of from what we had before. So I guess if we could table it till next month so we can have more time to look through it.
I guess,
Can
go
I
ahead,
ask one more
sure,
question?
sure.
I'm digging in my memory here, but the first issue was that you couldn't have two garages on one lot.
Correct.
But now we have a lot with no home and a garage.
This is substandard.
But on the other one, on lot one, now we have a garage with no home in lot one, the long lot, the 6175 here.
Mhm.
And I believe that is not, we'd have to go to Jay Kozlowski and find out why, because my understanding was that lot was going to be tied to a lake lot with a home in it.
I think I can answer part of that.
Okay,
The lot, you're talking about lot number 6175, which was made and created by Apex Surveying back in 2000. That was a 2-lot CSM by Mr. Zitlow or Mr. Jeff Mulak. It's got Fred Zitlow's signature on it. And both of those lots back in 2000 and 2001 received variances from section 3.13 of the ordinance, and they are allowed to have the storage buildings on there without the requirement of the home tied into it. So the lot that is currently owned by Mr. Strakota, the lot one, the old one, doesn't need a connection across the lot or a deed restriction tying it into, and I talked to Mr. Kozlowski about it.
okay.
That's the one thing, so it can stand alone because of that, and part of the reason for that was, at that time, back in 2000 or 2000, the county wanted parcels to have structures, to have things inside instead of having bullets, motors, everything sitting outside. This was, and they had a number of, they kept the roof line lower, there was a number of things that they found out about that. So that lot one, again, Ms. Whitworth, does not need a tie-in according to the zoning because they have the variance.
To tie into the lake lots on the other side of the road.
As the same is for lot two, which is now of the old CSM, which is owned by my client, Mr. Welch, and was formerly owned by Mr. Purdon. Mr. Purdon and Mr. Strakota both got identical variances from the county back in 2000 or 2001. So the existing lot two, which my client owns, in fact, does not need a tie-in across to the lake because of the variance. Now, we fast forward slowly, 20-some years, to the current lot, which Mr. Strakota is proposing, the lot one, which is less than 1 acre, but meets the county's minimum zoning, but it doesn't meet your zoning requirement of lot two. It's my understanding in talking to Mr. Kozlowski, this lot one then can be connected to Mr. Strakota's house that's right across the street that is on the lakeshore property. So all of those things would be met except for the minimum of 2 acres according to your ordinance.
So to that, I think, again, looking at this, I mean, especially if Mr. Strakota doesn't have any objection, I think we should table this for a month, let this go in front of our planning commission, ask some questions to Mr. Kozlowski to make sure, I don't doubt what you're saying, but with dealing with Story County zoning, I like to get it in writing. When it's certain news, I like to get something in writing from them just to make sure before we go ahead and approve something, knowing that something may tie in. And again, I will say from my experience as an assessor, there are plenty of places where you have a road going through and there's lots on the other side where they have garages, and that's, again, so it's not an uncommon thing, so I understand that. My main concern is how the planning commission would like to look at this as not being a 2-acre parcel, and if, I think they should get a crack at it since we all approved the CSM last month, but again, this kind of came up last minute. But I think it would behoove us to do some more homework on this and maybe run it through the planning commission also, but that's just my feeling on it.
I have one other question. Now, Mr. Strakota said that this newly created lot one, that he was considering that it had to be sold to somebody who has, property that aligns with it or is adjacent to it. And if it is attached to his home lot on the other side of the lake, is he stating that he is going to sell his home and that lot as one unit?
it's my understanding, and I'm not gonna speak for Mr. Strakota, I'm gonna talk totally regarding the ordinance. There would be a deed restriction that says his home, which is right across the road, or it could be Mr. Smith, Mr. Jones, I'm not gonna speak for him. And this lot, whoever would have a deed restriction combining them together for that point of view.
But he could, you're saying then he could
It could,
sell this to his neighbor next to him doesn't have enough money to buy it right now, but,
He could sell it to the neighbor, and the neighbor then could do the deed restriction that would combine it.
okay,
right, so there's potential to combine it or tie it to a lake lot
to a
in the
different,
future, yeah.
okay, that's my question.
And I believe last year or the year before, the planning commission actually did address crossing the road and putting a garage on the other side of the road, and that passed. So, that was over on the other side of Lake Hayward with the Morgans. So I think that would be a comparable situation, because one is lakeside property and one is.
Mr. Kurzweil was referring to that in a number of places also
Yeah.
on the phone.
I have a question also.
Sure, Carol.
Does the town have any restrictions on driveways? Cause it looks like this is 2 corners, and would each lot have a driveway then? I'm just wondering about safety reasons, pulling in and out on that corner there.
Well, that'd probably be a determination of the highway department too, if someone applies for a driveway permit, and they'd have to see, I mean, if everything meets the requirements.
Is there a driveway out here?
Yes, Mr. Strakota, you already have a joint driveway, don't you, between the two garages serving both lots, is that correct, sir?
Yes, I did. I received a permit over 20 years ago for a roadway that is actually split in half right down the line that you see that's kind of jagged from the north to the south. The driveway is 50-50 on each side of that line, and it currently serves both garages. And then we have a shared gravel area between the garages. The garage doors face each other. And so the plan was that to minimize the amount of trees that we were going to take down and just minimize impact to the land behind us, we would have this one driveway and this shared maneuvering area facing each other to just minimize impacts to the forest behind us. And that is kind of at the heart of why this is a problem in the first place, because as you can see, if I own both garages and the driveway, I can control what's going on with that driveway and so on. And I don't think Mr. Welsh is interested in being my partner. And I'm maybe not so interested in being a partner with Mr. Welsh. So now you begin to understand why separating this parcel, lot 1, and with the garage and just passing it on to me is the solution that that we've come up with to end our lawsuit.
Thank you.
So as the rest of the board think, I think I made myself kind of where I'm thinking. I guess I understand the idea behind this. I guess I would just wonder too if the planning commission, they want to look into it, and is there any kind of something they want to put like a condition on this, saying they accept this, but then, you know, since it's not 2 acres, I don't know. I mean, that's something I think that the planning commission should get their crack at, just because we're changing what our CSM was from last month. But that's my opinion. What does the rest of the board think? And we can move this.
I make a motion that we table this until next month and put it through the planning commission, because we can't possibly try to make this decision when we just got this at like 5 o'clock.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Carol.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to table this request for this lot 1, the new lot 1 of the CSM until next month's meeting and run it through the February planning commission first. Is there any further discussion on this topic?
I think the planning commission will be glad to discuss it.
Okay. So, if there's no further discussion.
Well, thank you for your time on this.
Yep, thank you, sir. We appreciate it, and we'll probably be seeing
Do
you.
we have to vote on that?
Yes, we are. Just give me 1 second.
Oh,
So all those in favor of tabling this issue of the CSM until next month and having to go through the planning commission, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. The ayes have it, and this issue for the CSM is tabled until next month. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it, and we will let you know when the planning commission meeting is in the next board meeting for February, okay?
All right, thank you both, or all of you. All right, bye-bye.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Attorney Kelsey, appreciate it. Okay, 9B, this is a rezone request, Longtime Anderson. Maybe Andy, you could explain this one a little bit. I think I paid attention a little bit from what the recording I listened to the planning commission meeting, but I regret to say I missed that meeting, so any kind of summary you can give would be helpful.
We had taken this, it looked very, very straightforward and easy when we first looked at it. And then when we started discussing where the lot lines are and which ones are going where, there was no one present at the meeting to help us understand how those lots were going to be established. I initially thought it would be two nicely straight line lots, and I was all in favor of it. And then Travis, in reading the verbiology, said he didn't think so. And so we went back and forth on that, and then Pat, reading it, saw that you could read it in both directions. And so we had, the motion was made to table it and ask the Longtime Anderson to come back and talk to us.
Okay, so do we even pick that up today, or do we wait and
No,
table it till the planning
yeah.
commission,
Yeah,
since you guys tabled it?
yeah, but you should be aware of it because it is kind of a funny little lot.
And again, maybe just, again, like I said, I was not there, I listened to the recording, so I
Yeah.
might not be right, but it looks to me like it's almost like kind of like a swap of two little triangles or something.
Yeah. Yeah, and we see, if you look at the picture, here, it would intimate that the new lot line is the blue line.
Okay. And is it,
And that's so that they can put a garage, they can align the garage so the setbacks are correct.
okay, and I'm familiar with this place on Clumpy Lake Road, so
Yeah.
it's like a commercial and residential, where you have the house and then the garage
Correct.
type thing is commercial, and they're kind of
Correct.
swapping those triangles to
So
make it a
there's no
straight.
argument about the commercial part of it because it's
Okay.
across the street from a commercial area, and that's fine. It's, go ahead.
We were emailed a different map too that showed, a line and then this parcel
Yeah.
and this parcel, and that looked
Yeah,
to me that it also, it was in accordance with the county zoning 4.251, creation of lots, any lot created after the adoption of this ordinance, which was adopted in 2015, I think. Or an amendment thereto shall contain in rectangular form. So
Right.
by doing what they're doing, they're actually creating more of a rectangular.
That's what it seems like to me.
see, when I first read it, that's what I was thinking would be, but when you look at this picture, you can see that that is not what the effect is. The blue line would appear,
Well, I don't know about that blue line, but what I
Yeah.
saw with the bigger of the CSM,
Sure.
and they showed
This
the
one.
line. Yes,
Okay,
it kind of looks like a
this,
panic flag.
so,
this to me is more accurate than that is just.
Correct.
So this to me,
so since, again,
There's a tree there too.
I understand that the planning commission tabled this. I mean, we have it on the agenda right now. I think Mr. Longtime is here.
I am.
If he'd like to,
I mean, it's pretty cut and dry, pretty simple. It was the lot lines, the previous lot lines were hideous. I mean, it had a little garage back here and the lot line cut like 2 feet from the garage. I couldn't get a setback there to put a garage. My daughter's handicapped. So we decided we'd come to the other side of the lot. Well, then the triangle piece cuts in there. So the landowner, I know the landowner on that bought the commercial property there, and he was totally in agreement that had Jesse come out and survey everything, and in the meantime found that the town of Hayward lot line the town of Hayward right away was off. So that got resurveyed. So now we got a survey that, and I guess I don't understand what's difficult about this. I mean, it's like we've taken out the triangles, we've made a straight line.
Okay,
We took the where our lot went into his over by the driveway,
Right.
that came straight, so it's pretty much a rectangle and a rectangle.
and both parties are in agreement.
Yeah, I mean, he couldn't be here tonight, he lives in the cities, but totally in agreement. And I think I gained a little bit of his ground, he was fine with that, so I mean, if you guys table this tonight, then I guess my meeting at the county on Friday will be null and void. And I was told that I wasn't here on the first. I would have been here, but I didn't know you guys have a meeting on the first.
Would have been easier.
I had no idea.
So, okay, thank you. Again, personally, looking at this, it seems pretty cut and dried. I don't like, and you were on the planning commission.
Yeah,
I don't like to pick stuff up off of their table and deal with it. And yes, I would recommend anybody who has anything else going in the future to show up at the planning commission, because
right.
boy, that's where all the information is given and where things go. So personally, and looking at this on the face of it, I don't have a problem with moving forward with this tonight, but again, we'll see what the board decides. I think this looks pretty cut and dried, so I understand there may be some confusion at the planning commission meeting, but listening to the recording, looking at this, it makes sense to me. So, I mean, and I don't think it's gonna be anything that really needs to be drastically, looking at the details, because it all seems pretty cut and dried. So,
Well, I would make a motion that we accept the CSM as drawn.
The
It
rezone.
seemed pretty cut and dried
In
to me.
two rectangular forms.
Two rectangular pieces, and both parties are in agreement. It meets the standards, and it actually
Yep.
creates a more rectangular lot.
I'll second that motion.
now again, just on the agenda, it says rezone
Wait.
request. Is this a survey?
Oh,
and
one more thing, it did pass the city council meeting last night too, so.
Okay. How much, or which part, like the
Well-
southern part is on the city, or what do you mean?
I can't remember, there's a chunk, that's a really funky area there, the city park borders are back of ours, or on two sides, and
So you had to get approval from the city also?
Yes.
You went to them, okay.
last night, yes.
So, but what we're also doing is it's not as simple as that, because one is commercial and one is residential. So
Right.
it's two separate
So
transactions.
is accepting that
Right.
survey and then accepting the rezones of each of those parcels?
Correct.
Yes.
So as long
But
as
the land swap is very,
Would you like me to?
very close to the same amount,
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, just so it's clear.
so it's more like,
Yeah,
yeah.
because
I make a motion that we accept the CSM and that we accept the rezone changing from commercial one to residential one of the parcels, and from residential to commercial, the others.
Perfect. Do I get a second?
I'll second.
you already.
Thank you both. All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the CSM and rezone request for longtime Anderson property, with pieces of property from going from residential to commercial, and another little piece going from commercial to residential. Is there any further discussion on this issue? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval of this rezone request signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed signify by saying nay. Rezone request and CSM is approved.
Thank you.
Yep, okay, number,
And
Yep.
are we doing the finding of fact later?
well, that, I guess that'd be a good thing. Did you have any from the planning, or we tabled at the planning commission, that's right.
Yeah, and you can deal with it, the table it. that's fine.
Okay, well, I guess,
I think number 2
yeah.
and number 3, encourage planned and orderly land use development. And provide healthy surroundings. So I don't know, maybe not.
It is a little more orderly land use development,
Yeah,
because it's cleaning up the corners. Again, it's not changing the property values of the property tax base. So I would say number 2 and 3 should be enough for this one.
yeah.
So, including those findings of facts. Okay. 9C, we have another rezone here. This is for Strable, I believe the last name is pronounced. Can we get a summary of that one again briefly before I'm sure there's gonna be somebody here to speak on behalf of that applicant too. But if we could just get a brief summary, maybe from you, Andy, that would be great.
The Will and Ashley are here tonight, and they are asking to rezone a small piece of property, 1.2
Yeah, 1.2 or 1 point,
acres.
just, yeah.
Okay, where they already have a home and you have a small garage.
Correct.
And they were asking that that be rezoned to commercial one so they can put an equipment repair business and a larger garage in there.
Okay.
And they submitted a letter here, which I believe you have. What is that? Is that on the separate document?
Should be attached to this.
No,
Assuming
that
paper
was,
right now.
that was, oh yeah, handout for rezone request. And they were explaining how they feel about it. And then we spent quite a while discussing it with the Strable family, which is this other document here. And they had other neighbors, are you sure it's here? And the other neighbors, did they come tonight?
I came tonight.
Oh, there you are,
Mr.
Mr. Dan. Okay,
There's a January 1 meeting, New Year's Day,
Yeah.
6 PM.
yeah,
Who does that?
we did.
So I
For the
missed that
sake
meeting.
of
So I am
continuity, we
behind.
did. So those two documents are available for you. And I would have Ashley and Will explain what they had planned to do.
Okay.
The board did pass that and accept that to pass it on to the board. The planning commission, I'm
The
sorry.
planning commission approved, made the recommendation to the
Correct.
town board to approve the rezone request.
Correct.
Okay. Sure, the Strables, if you guys just wanna, so,
Could we come up there?
sure.
Okay.
And kind of just give us a brief synopsis. I think you went over it all at the January 1st meeting too with everything, but just kind of what you guys are looking to do. And
But I wasn't there either because I was with family as
Yep.
well, like Mr. Danzig was.
I did not attend either. I knew about it and was planning on attending and I totally forgot. It was on January 1st, so
And
I
I
did.
did email the chairman of the facility committee, and
The planning commission made a decision
At the meeting before that.
quite a few years ago, for the sake of continuity, that you don't flip-flop meetings, change dates, or change times for the meeting. We meet at the same time every month unless there's an election in this building, which it happens twice this spring. So, or
And-
next year.
I do remember at their prior December meeting, they all agreed they would be there on the 1st, and I was kind of surprised, but if they were gonna show up, then so be it. I don't tell them how to run their meetings. So, okay. Yes.
We did revise, or I'm Will Strable.
Mhm.
We did revise our map of the property based off of yesterday with a conversation with Jay Kozlowski about the setbacks being changed. They need to be 10 foot from the side.
As opposed to the 5 foot that was.
Yep, opposed to the 5 foot. So I do have the revised copy here that I'd like to.
I didn't notice that in the initial paperwork, and like I said, I missed the meeting, but I listened to the recording of it today, so I'm a little fresh on it. Thank you.
There you go.
You got copies for everybody?
For everyone here, we do, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I don't.
Yep, for you.
Yeah, I'll take that one, I passed mine down. Thank you so much. Okay, so you made a change where now instead of the shop being 5 feet from that lot line, you're looking at 10 feet.
10 feet. Yep.
And just from my understand, again, from listening to the recording, I tried to refresh myself with it today because I did not, like I said, I unfortunately did not make the planning commission meeting on the 1st, but it sounds like you're doing like some type of a diesel repair type of operation there. That's what you're looking to do?
Yes. Yep. An equipment repair
Okay.
shop, and it'll be in shop stuff, but with the main focus of field service. So that would be repairs done at customer sites. And having the shop is for the other repair work that in wintertime, it's nice to be able to work in the shop versus being outside, especially on days like today. But as far as I can go into the kind of synopsis and read off if you'd
Well,
like me to.
we'll see.
yes, I would like that because
Okay.
I did not come to that
And
meeting.
you have your copy,
I just got it just now.
but you
Yeah, try to
have your
keep it-
copy.
I mean, I know you guys already went through all this, so you can keep it
Okay.
brief, but
Okay.
go ahead.
So I'm requesting a rezone to to allow a one-person equipment repair and maintenance shop. I've been doing this work for the past 15 years for a dealership. The reason I want to go out on my own is so I can have more control of my schedule to allow more time with my daughter and family. This business would benefit the Hayward area because I would offer a dealership alternative for advanced diagnostics and repairs in a shop setting on construction equipment and commercial trucks. The nearest location for this level of service is 60 miles away. The reason why this should be zoned commercial is because it aligns with the town of Hayward's comprehensive plan. According to the town's comprehensive plan, areas along Highway 27 are designated for commercial use. The location of this lot on Highway 27 offers easy access for customers, and the road is constructed to handle the business needs. It is important to us that this one-person business doesn't negatively impact our neighbors and the environment. We care about protecting the environment and desire to follow environmental best practices. As Ashley, my wife here, is a natural resources professional who was previously the Douglas County Land Conservationist. Our family drinks from a well and eats from a garden on the property. Our daughter plays in the yard, and we care about keeping the property and surrounding neighborhood as a pleasant place to live while operating our business here. I do have a handout here, just to make sure that you guys all have it. It's a supplemental for what our plan is for as far as environmental impacts of fluid containment, noise.
Everyone has it already?
Yeah, oh yeah, we had that in our packet.
Which, I'll go through here. For fluid containment, to meet federal and state regulations, floor drains will be connected to a standalone holding tank. So those are floor drains in the shop area. All oil containers will be stored indoors within a secondary spill-proof container, so a containment system underneath of them. Used oil, we want to make sure is recycled properly. So making sure that the people that are coming and taking it off of site are recycling it accurately. As far as noise, work will be performed inside the insulated shop to mitigate outside noise. Decibel levels of some of the loudest tools intermittently used inside the shop, such as a hammer, which is 89 decibels, and that's from the Federal Highway Administration. The decibel rating, or impact wrenches, 85 decibels, are comparable to that of a lawnmower, which is 85 to 100 decibels, which is already a common sound in the neighborhood. State Highway 27 is noisy with consistent commercial truck traffic and log trucks as early as 5:30 a.m. traveling to the wood mills. Typical highway traffic noise is 70 to 80 decibels from the Federal Highway Administration. Surface water drainage. Property in the area is generally flat with sandy soils. Rain gutters will be installed on the shop to direct water flow. Rainwater sheds off the property to the east and west, not toward adjacent properties with structures. Plan is to install rain gardens with native flowering plants to catch rainwater runoff, and that's before it goes to the ditch that's out along Highway 27 there. Landscaping, there's a barrier of trees and shrubs already exists on the north side of the property, the south side and west sides. The east side, which is Highway 27 roadside, has young trees planted. Soil disturbance will be kept to a minimum during construction. State runoff and erosion control regulations will be followed during construction. Signage permits will be obtained from the zoning office prior to installing a sign on the building and near the road. As far as the traffic, equipment drop-off is expected to occur 2 to 5 times per week. Again, this is a one-man show. It'll be myself solo. State Highway 27 is constructed for commercial traffic and can handle the customer base. This parcel is well located for a commercial business because it is located on a state highway and will not cause extra wear and tear on a town road.
it's you. Yeah. Now I read you were gonna be working on skid steers and maybe heavy equipment like that.
Yeah.
In order for a skid steer to be brought into your property, it would have to be hauled by a semi
Not for a skid steer. So a skid steer would be typically, just
or a
a
dually, a truck with a long trailer. I mean, that would be pretty,
pickup truck with an equipment trailer.
a skid steer.
For
A
a skid
skidder,
steer.
are you talking about like a logging skidder?
No, skid steer, so is a common piece of equipment, that's,
I've driven a skidder before.
yep, that's a different piece of equipment compared to a skid steer. So a skidder, like in a logging situation, that would have to be,
Do you work on
Hold
that
on.
equipment too?
yes. I have in the past, typically not a whole lot, and that's typically on the customer sites, at customer locations.
But typically, you're saying, but the potential for bringing it to your location is there because
It could
you,
be, yes.
because you have worked on this type of equipment before.
Correct, yes.
Okay. And so I did a little bit of, turning in off of Highway 27, that's like a 90-degree turn into your driveway.
Correct. And it's very similar to Anderson Road, the turn in there, which is 90 degrees.
Well, that's well, your driveway wouldn't be as wide as the road.
I think a lot of driveways
Sure.
coming off the highway are 90-degree angles from the highway. Usually
Right,
that's how
but
they
Let me
intersect
finish
them.
my point
Yeah,
here.
okay.
I was looking at, because if you are capable of working on heavier equipment, and you have a building that you're suggesting is 50 by 80 feet, correct?
Yep.
Okay. I was watching actually videos on semis today, and it takes a semi 80 feet to do a U-turn. Are you aware of that? In order for it to turn around, and you have 1.2 acres of property here, right? Correct?
I have
Or 1.25 or
I have 1.25 acres of property,
And
depending
it's
on the,
200 feet wide by 270 feet deep, 79 feet deep, is that correct?
that is the dimensions of the
Okay,
lot on there.
and then these little stars are, that's where you planted trees, correct?
There's currant trees there, and we've also planted some spruce that are, young at the moment with,
Okay.
looking to grow.
Now, Highway 27 is a Class A highway, so that means that you can't have any obstruction for 200 feet both ways, so your trees cannot obstruct. Are you aware of that? It's a Class A highway.
You're
because it's
saying that no
numbered
one can
by-
have trees within 200 feet from the highway?
No,
That's
they have to have a 200-foot view, so they can't have,
Coming out to the, you mean at the driveway, or in the right of way of
in
the
the
state
line of
highway?
view,
Yeah.
when someone is pulling out of that driveway, it's a Class A highway, so I'm looking at these trees and
Okay,
I'm just saying you can't have obstruction that's, they actually even,
so, and now again, I'm not sure, but, I mean, I think this is the right of way here, you're showing the highway right here, and then there's a right of way, so it doesn't look like, it looks like they're planting trees in their property, not in the right of way, so I'd imagine that the vision problem would be in the right of way issue of the state highway. So there's nothing prohibiting people from planting trees that are not in the right of way. But if you're in the right of way, then you may have an issue, that's correct.
okay,
Yep, so the trees are not in the right of way, so currently you pull across the tree line, which is,
And you're planting these for a screen for in the future.
yep,
I mean,
for future.
I get it.
Yep, and you can see both left and right, very clearly.
Couple more questions, and we're gonna listen to people who are, I think, opposed, but I listened to this recording again today, just because I wasn't there at the meeting. I actually drove by the property. I called, my main questions were the idea of having a holding tank, because you guys said in the meeting that you were gonna tie in your bathroom in the shop into the drain field, and have a standalone holding tank for that. That seemed kind of odd to me. I ended up calling some other auto dealers and auto repair stuff around. If you're not on city water and sewer, that's usually what they end up doing is sending everything into a holding tank, and then, again, mandated by the DNR and all this kind of stuff. So again, those are my main questions listening to that, and I did my own homework on that. So those were a lot of the questions I had. I'll also say this is what's going on in my head too after listening to the meeting. The comp plan does say in this property, like in this area, that it is potential commercial. However, our comp plan is a guide. And then we have to look at what the reality of the situation is. And again, I drove by that area today, and it seemed that the nearest town of Hayward commercial property was at the price right
Yeah.
liquor. And I know that to the south there in Bass Lake, there's other stuff. So again, that's just why I wanted to go out and take a look at the property and do my own homework on some of the stuff. And my main question was about the water, catch basins or catch bins and all that kind of stuff. And I think you guys seem to have all that, it's all up to snuff. So those are most of my questions that I had answered before, you guys came in here. So do we have any other questions for the applicant quick before we get to anything else?
What the county had sent to us too is they made note that even though, like you said, I mean, our comprehensive plan is a guide, but it's a basically residential area right there.
That's what-
Except for the campground on the other side.
Right.
It's not in yet, but they'll have to have holding tanks.
And
There is also across the road, and he did say that the drainage goes to the east.
well, again,
And
the holding
across the road.
tank should capture any kind of chemicals that go into that shop are gonna be captured by the holding tank. There's gonna be a company, whether it's the same septic system or a different company that comes in, they're gonna pump that out, that goes into different places than everyone else's regular mixed septic from toilets and everything, from what I understand. So that's the thing, but see, again, if you're in the city right now, if you're at like, Don Johnson or Naylor's, you're on city water and sewer, and you have to have catch basins for everything, because the only thing going into the city water and sewer is water. Now, when you got your own holding tank, from what I understand from my research today, that allows people who are not on city water and sewer to put a lot of stuff into that holding tank, and then that gets taken care of differently. So, as far as I understand, having a holding tank means that there is gonna be no permeating chemicals from that shop going out into the field or anywhere else in that property unless there was an actual breakage in the line between the holding tank and the pipes to that place. So that was one of my concerns initially, but like I said, I did some of my homework and realized that's kind of what the standard operating procedure is. Ultimate Auto Body, who's not on city water sewer, has their own holding tank. And that's how it works. They got everything tied into a holding tank. So that issue is kind of a non-starter to me too. Does anyone else have any other questions for him? Or do you have any?
Chair, I have a couple comments, but they're not questions. Do you want me to hold them?
Well, we can still have discussion about this later, but if you have any questions for him, or if he has any comments, I'd like him to speak. So it's up to
Okay.
you how you want to do it.
I'd like
I'm
to
good then.
finish answering Brenda's
Sure.
question as far as semi-turning around in there. It depends on the research of where you get your 80-foot radius. I've seen semi-trucks turn in a 45-foot radius with a low boy. It all depends on what's.
But I'm talking like the max, 45 to 80 feet, that's quite a bit.
How far are you from Anderson Road? 200 feet?
One lot, pretty
One
much.
lot.
You're one lot, 'cause there's one lot in the corner there.
If you have somebody that's delivering, say, a skid steer, or, a skidder, or a larger piece of equipment, they would more than likely pull off on Anderson Road to the side of the road, unload it, and then drive it to your,
That's
Not necessarily.
for safety's sake, they might do that.
There's an option maybe
There's an
in
option.
certain circumstances, but again, you gotta be careful.
The lot will be designed, we'll be taking out as minimal amount of trees as we can, but we'll still make it so that a semi truck can safely pull into the lot, be able to unload whatever piece of equipment and come out. If it's a piece of equipment that it's not going to work, then I don't work on it at the shop, because I'm not gonna jeopardize safety for.
What is your future plans for your business? I'm sure you're hoping to grow, is that correct?
Myself, just,
But you,
Not a whole lot of
if you
room.
get a reputation and I'm just saying, it's a small area, have you considered looking for something a little bigger so you can actually grow with it?
I plan to be a one employee business.
Where are you gonna park the other vehicles that,
So I'll
generally, if somebody who's a repairman, they have other vehicles parked outside too.
So it'll be one service truck that'll have, and the shop is large enough that I'll be able to do the work that I need to do inside the shop. And then once the piece of equipment's done, the customer picks it up and it's off site. It's, we're living on this lot too, and we wanna keep it minimal impact.
The next person could drop off their equipment before the one is done, but we don't have much room to be storing a bunch of equipment there, so once it's done, it has to get shipped out of there, and the next person comes and drops off. It's just what would be there.
And I think you guys mentioned at the planning commission meeting that, again, you weren't intending, there's no intention to have a bunch of vehicles parked out there and everything. And you're a one-man show, you're not gonna take on 10 jobs if you can't, you're gonna take us out.
You say you do a lot of your work off-site.
Yep, currently, everything's off-site.
That's the way most of these, unless you're working on semi-trailers, if you're working with loggers and stuff like that,
That's pretty much.
90% of that is on-site,
Right.
you know, so.
Does anyone else on the board have a question for the Strables at this point? We can always revisit it if something comes up. Do you have anything else that you would like to add?
I guess that covered a lot of items in that planning commission meeting, and I can think of one thing.
I don't have anything additional.
Okay, well, we might ask you a question if it comes up.
Mhm.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you guys, appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
So, yeah, and since I understand the situation here and listen to the planning commission meeting, is there anyone here who wants to speak against this rezone? You guys can choose which one wants to go first up front, and then who's ever in the back can go.
Alright. This is basically going to be
Can you
reiterating.
Can you state your name?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
Thank
Scott
you.
Schultz.
Okay.
My wife Charlotte Schultz. We live on the corner of Anderson and 27, next door to the Strables to the south. And like I said before, we're also known as the Blue House on the corner. I'm going to reiterate a lot of what I said in the planning meeting, plus some new things have come up, although some of it's been covered now, so I'll briefly mention that. First of all, I want to tell you all that we still stand by everything we wrote in our original letter to the town board and to the planning committee, because nobody convinced us at any point that we were wrong. First of all, the view of this garage is going to be 10 feet from my property. And we submitted some photographs that show that we are going to have a very plain, blatant view of this garage 9 months out of the year. Brush only grows around here for about 9 months. And it does not provide any kind of sound barrier or anything like that. The next thing I was going to address was the 5 foot versus 10 foot. Once it's zoned commercial, he needs the 10 foot easement. But that seems to be addressed. We're concerned about the water runoff off of the building. He said there's going to be gutters. Okay, I don't know how you keep the ice from tearing the gutters down, but besides that, my septic is going to basically be 20 feet from his building, my septic field, and so he can't run the water to the south. If he runs it to the west, he's going to flood John Danzig's property. If he runs it to the east, he's going to flood his own septic system and yard. And if he runs it to the east, he's going to flood his driveway. So I'm not quite sure where all this water runoff is going to go. And it strengthens a bigger point is that this lot is not big enough for this type of business. There are also, at the planning committee, Will mentioned that he is going to change his driveway. He's going to widen it and make it larger, and I would assume probably better define a turnaround for whatever vehicles are pulling in there, including large trailers and trucks. None of that is in this plan. We don't know what that entails, other than it's going to entail more soil disturbance and a lot more construction and changes to the property and the way the neighborhood looks. So that's a mystery. Now to some of my more important points, I contacted Jay, besides the easement issue, at the planning committee meeting. Will had said, well, there's commercial property within 275 feet of my property. Well, I went over that with Jay Kozlowski, and the fact is that yes, there are two narrow strips of commercial property. One is a line of trees right along the highway, and then another narrow strip that are remnants of some other rezoning that occurred a long time ago. They're not viable commercial lots. The only viable existing business is 675 feet away, and that's the bar, the someplace else bar. And to the north, I think you're right, Price Right, or I believe there's maybe an RV park right close to the river that might be zoned commercial. But everything else around there is either Ag 1, I think, HE 1, and residential. And a bulk of that is John Danzig's property, but all of the lots in a row along 27 there are residential and have nice, good families and middle-class people in them, kids, middle-class, hardworking people, and a lot of retired people like me and Rick Nelson. So this is spot zoning. It seems to me to be a classic case of this. We're taking one lot in the middle of a residential neighborhood, plugging in a commercial business. And later on, I mentioned the comprehensive plan is a guide. It's not the Bible. It's not something that has to be followed letter by letter. And there's several spots in there where they want to preserve the rural aspect of this area and not insert commercial lots and disrupt residential clusters. They encourage the clusters. And right now, as everybody knows, the town of Hayward, the city of Hayward, the Sawyer County, we're all in need of more residential development. So to pull a residential lot out of that mix just seems like doesn't make sense to me. But right now, this plan is to insert a commercial lot in the middle of a residential neighborhood with many aspects to the business that are going to disturb this neighborhood. We're concerned about pollution, water pollution. Okay, I don't know, I'm not a plumber, but I would assume if you've got drains in a garage and it has to be put in a holding tank, and I believe it's an above ground holding tank with kind of the coffin around it, there's going to have to be lift pumps that lift the chemicals and hydraulic fluids and whatever else. It's going to have to be lifted into this holding tank. What if those pumps break? As you said, what if a pipe breaks? There's a lot of danger and risk in this, and maybe it won't happen, but what if it does? This risk is being imposed on our neighborhood, and in a way that just doesn't make sense. It's just not the right time and place for a business like that. Regarding air pollution, diesel exhaust is a carcinogen. This business will generate diesel exhaust. These engines have to be started, stopped, raced, warmed up. There'll be vehicles coming and going. That exhaust is going to escape into the air. And diesel exhaust, I did a little research, diesel exhaust rises, cools, and then settles to the ground. And then, as we discussed in the planning meeting, atmospheric inversion is common around here. It was used against the golf course, or used to adjust the golf course so that they had certain type of fireplace, because too many campfires would be a problem. And in fact, this diesel exhaust that's going to be escaping this building is going to be a problem. It's going to be settling on all of our properties. Again, we have elderly people, we have retired people that may or may not have breathing problems, but this certainly won't help, and it exposes us to a risk of cancer. Also, I've got to assume there's going to be an exhaust fan in this garage, which is going to spread this throughout the neighborhood, and will be a constant running fan in addition to all the other noise that's going to be generated. So therefore, noise pollution is a big concern of mine. There's a lot of hammering and pounding and impact wrenches and so forth that are used in any kind of repair shop. And if you stand in a repair shop, it doesn't sound like a lawnmower. It sounds more like hammering and impact wrenches and a lot of very loud, abrupt noises. And this is going to go on all day long. So that's a big concern of mine. Also, the increased traffic and the noise from 27. It seems like the argument is, well, 27 is already noisy, so it's okay if we make it noisier. That's like telling me my shoulder hurts, so it's okay if you smash my toe. It doesn't make sense to add more of a bad thing on top of a bad thing. So I am concerned that the highway noises says, yes, it's there, but this is going to make it worse. Finally, I'm concerned about the way the comprehensive plan seems to be used as a weapon. It says we have to do this, therefore we do. This plan has flaws. It's meant to guide decisions. Plan has flaws, and it's reviewed every 10 years. It's reviewed every 10 years because it's not perfect, and there can be mistakes. And I believe that the delegation or the designation of these lots as to potentially someday be commercial is certainly possible, but to insert a lot in the middle of this residential neighborhood at this time just doesn't make sense. And it's a detriment to our neighborhood.
Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I just want to say one thing too, is that I don't really understand this comment about the comprehensive zone being used as a weapon. I don't really understand that terminology. Also, again, as I stated before, I don't know what was said at the planning commission meeting, but there are things that come in front of the planning commission or the board. And even though the planning or the comprehensive plan is a guide, I don't think there's a whole lot of things that are just spelled out that we have to do or not. So again, I'm confused a little bit with that comment. There's a couple more people who want to speak about this. I thank you, sir. Do you want to speak yet, ma'am?
I'd
Or
rather have John go first.
okay,
How does the lot, everything,
sure.
I'm a capitalist. I hope the Strables do extremely well. And
You take your name, please, too.
I'm sorry, John Danzig.
Thank you.
My concern isn't all that stuff. My big concern is, well, there's a couple of things. Number one, it's 1.25 acres. It's not a vacant lot. So there's the house there, there's a garage there. Now there's gonna be a 50 by 80 foot home barn. How, the setback being 10 feet. One of my concerns is, can a semi turn around? Or is it gonna have to back up to get out of there on Highway 27? Certainly wouldn't want that. It's 45-mile-an-hour zone. That's a concern of mine. Some of the other concerns have been said, so I don't need to repeat those. I would disagree. That's a perfect location for this type of business. It's 1.25 acre with the house, with the garage already, okay? You're coming off a 90-degree turn. This needs to be moved to 35 feet opening, I think. They have a commercial.
They're allowed up to that. I think they're allowed up to that.
has to be.
If it has to be 35,
Allowed.
then the stuff about planting trees, those, and all that stuff, I mean, that doesn't matter. You need rain catching plants. If you need space to do a, 360, if you're semi, bushes are getting run over. So I don't necessarily care about any of that. What I really care about is this. 25 years ago, and I listened to the first two people talk about stuff that happened 20 years. It wasn't this board, but there was a board that said, we're putting a golf course over here, okay? It's always gonna be a golf course. There's been lots of different boards now over the last 20 years. And now it's maybe gonna be an RV park and maybe not, okay? It's supposed to be a golf course. That's what I think, it's a beautiful golf course. If this little thing, 1.25 acres a month, residential, and even though the water's going toward my side, if it's not contaminated, I don't care. It's all sand, it's gonna sink there. It's very sandy soil, but 10 years from now, and I would think the Strables would, any business person, if you're good at it, your business is gonna grow. So my concern is 5 years, 10 years from now, their business is really doing well, they don't have the space. Okay, so they're gonna sell this and now it's still commercial. So what happens to the next person, 10, 15 years, buys it, because they're growing and getting bigger, and now we got a commercial network. So what's the next business, like the golf course to the RV park? My land, there's 120 acres there, is it gonna affect me, the noise, nothing, nope, I got LP coming on the other side of the river, they're dropping stuff on me. There's pollution all over, I'm not really worried about that, but if we're gonna let this be commercial, that means every single place along 27 should be able to come to you guys and make it commercial. That's at least 1.25 acres, and if it's vacant, for sure. Not to mention there's a house there already, so I just don't see how this is all gonna fit in there. And if that's the case, that's fine, if that's the planning commission's goal, it'd be nice to know, hey, we wanna make this commercial. I've had plenty of people come to me, my place is a great place for a farm. 10 years ago, I tried to get 20 acres zone ag to put a horse on, and it was like, could hardly get it done. It was a different board, okay? So there's gonna be a different board coming down the road, and it's gonna be different people making questions. So when you guys make the decision, yes or no, I'm gonna sleep fine either way, and I want those guys to do well in their business, but you need to think about the future of this, okay? It means not just a farm from my land, but RV park. I have 120 acres, I should be able to get that through and change it to commercial, or should I make it solar panels? Like they have on 63, the look very site. There should be no problem with that with the board, okay? There's no cars coming in, there might be a service truck, but I'll clear cut, if I went to clear cut it, I should be okay to do that. So it's residential, it's been residential. I think I'm all for them. But 1.25 acres, if there's vacant, not so bad. But with the house, is there enough space for all this? If it's just skidsters coming in, pickup trucks coming in, no big deal. But we're bringing semis in there. And it's a great place for road vans, obviously, because it's on State Highway 27. But how are they gonna get around? They gonna go move their house, move a garage? And if that stuff's all covered, then it's not so bad. But that's something I think you guys have to consider when you're making this decision. You're gonna set precedents for everyone else to do that. You guys may not be here 10 years from now, if you're holding the board. Well, I wasn't here. The people that allowed the golf course to maybe become an RV, I don't even know who they are anymore. So that's just my thought on this. It's kind of a tough situation, but it's a pretty small acre, or 1.25 acres is pretty small, I think, for this type of business. That's just my personal opinion. So that's all I have to say on this.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Ma'am, would you like to go yet, or?
Yes. My name is Deborah Freeman. I own a house on 975 1 North Fairway Drive. It's not that far from the place that we're proposing to change to a commercial. And I've got some questions. The one that I received of the way he did his math is not to scale at all. There's no way that a 50 by 80 foot garage is square. And that's what he has on here. If you look at it, it'll be at least 30 more feet down from where it is and it'll be coming towards Highway 27. And at that time, then if this is the way that he has proposed it to the board and to everybody else, that it cannot be done because you can't turn anything around in that particular area, especially a semi. So he should have had something to scale more so we could know more what we have. I don't know if anybody's gone over there and looked at the piece of property or not. But if you have, you'll see that there's not a lot of room. And there's also that the biggest problem that I feel, and I'm very well versed on this, is about the pollution of the land. Now, where the property is and where the groundwater is not too far. It's about 15 to 17 feet from where the top of the ground is to where the groundwater is. Now, if he's going to be putting this in, he should at least have blacktop in that whole entire area. So when the truck or someone, semi or something's coming in to be able to be serviced, it should have some way that it is draining fluids, so that they do not go into the ground. If they do, it's not that far from the top of the ground to the groundwater, and then it starts ruining the ground. And the groundwater, I mean, that's one of the big things that really bothers me about this whole entire thing. About making sure that we have our property that is not contaminated. Right now in my well at my house, which is not that far away, it's got arsenic in it, in the water. And I don't know how many other places have got arsenic in the water in that area too. But it's one concern that I had to spend a lot of money to make sure that I wasn't drinking arsenic. So on that other side of Highway 27, where the proposed property to change it to commercial, there's swamps in there, there's creeks in there, there's all sorts of stuff on that side where the old golf course used to be. And it doesn't just stop at 27. And anytime that there's a problem, the stuff can go into the groundwater, it's gonna go right down to the Namaconda River. And then you're gonna have a problem. And I think if you're gonna accept this, I think there should be some stipulations. That number one, he has to blacktop the road, the driveway, and where he's got any of the semis or anything that he's setting there. That the exhaust system should be a filtered system that comes out of the garage, that is a no detect on the exhaust or anything. That the property gets sold, that it goes back to a residential piece of property instead of leaving it commercial. Because you never know what anybody can do with it, just like John said. He says, what are they gonna do with that piece of property if it gets sold? And he does do a good business over there, which I hope he does. I hope if it would be better for him to get a different piece of property, I would think. It's a bigger piece of property, so you can look forward into saying that you will become profitable and that you would be able to have more room there so you can do something instead of just a small amount of business running. I think that you should make sure that the trucks don't stay there any longer than a certain time. And if they do, then they should be fined. And also that any contamination to the water or the soil should have to be taken care of by him and paid for him. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Richard Nelson, and I'm one of the neighbors. I'm on Anderson Road. I have a couple concerns. The traffic that's going by right now is going by at 45, 50, 55 miles an hour. When these trucks are coming in, they're going to be using air brakes and they're going to be backing up. So there's going to be a lot more noise than there is currently. My other concern with noise is in the summertime, it gets pretty hot. Are those doors going to be closed while they're working in there? Is it going to be air conditioned? I don't know. These are just things for us to think about. My other concern is what's going to happen to our property values. When it comes time to sell, and they ask, well, what's that big building next door? Oh, that's a diesel repair shop. It's a big concern for me. I don't, sooner or later down the road, I'm gonna have to sell and move into old folks home or something. So that's a concern. And the other concern, of course, is safety. I've almost been rear-ended twice just turning off at 27 onto Anderson because people aren't paying attention to my blinker. Well, there's going to be a lot more traffic going in and out at that time, and I'm just concerned about the safety there. That's my piece.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, I think we've heard from not everyone yet. Sure.
I'm Shane Cryer. I have a excavating and snow plowing business in our area. I think the area could use an equipment shop, as everybody's kind of touched on. The closest place is hour and a half away for us. Anybody that's moved large equipment knows it's not cheap to haul 40,000 pound loader hour and a half one way. I feel it'd be good for the area. I don't think it's gonna step on anybody's toes business wise. I think they keep more of the local money. There's a lot of excavating contractors in our area, loggers, equipment wise. Don't really have a lot of area to go with them locally. I think they would do good business wise, buying parts, keeping money in our area, so to speak, as well as we gotta keep in mind that everybody starts somewhere. Nobody has a big fancy mansion at the start. They're a younger family trying to start a business. I think, yes, with some precautions put in place, it would do well. Kind of agree with the rezoning in the event of a sale, but they do have to start somewhere. Maybe property isn't in the budget, so to speak, we're utilizing what they do have at their fingertips they can. That's all I got.
All right,
I have
thank
a
you.
question for Mr. Cryer.
Yep.
On South on 63, the Dennis's, they used to have a repair. That's not functioning anymore?
Washburn County. That's in
Right,
Washburn
but it's-
County.
Just past LP.
Correct.
There's nobody repairing anything there anymore?
Yes, there is.
So then you don't have to go an hour and a half away.
But you
No,
have to
but
wait.
there's also wait times. I mean,
Right.
if you
For
go
a
down to
small
Arnie's
business.
right now, you're gonna wait probably 3 weeks to a month to get in. That's why I said I don't think it's gonna be stepping on toes.
Right, no, I
who's
just didn't
around
know
the
if they
area.
were still in business or not, because you said people have to go so far away and
Right. Well, and for
So it is a
any,
business.
for any in-depth repair you do right now. Like all of our equipment, we gotta bring to Ashland or up to Superior to have work done.
Okay. Listen, oh God, is there someone else?
Just one question.
Sure.
Isn't there a repair facility similar to this on Airport Road?
I do not know.
The guy that does all that logging?
Evergreen
repair?
is over there.
MRS.
Evergreen.
So there is
Is it MRS?
another option.
There may be, thank you.
I thought they sold it.
I think they sold.
They sold that to the airport, didn't they?
First of all, okay, so we've heard from, sure, sir, please,
I'll make it quick.
thank you very much.
I've been in the business in the heavy equipment business for over 50 years. To get stuff done around here, it's like Shane was saying, it's a big wait. We need business like this here. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. There's 2 heavy equipment businesses here that work on stuff, but we could use more help.
Thank you. And again, I just want to preface this, that I understand it's already 8:30 and we're barely through our agenda, or halfway. This is kind of, again, for ill or not, I do like to have the citizens speak their piece on certain things, so it does tend to take the meetings last a little longer than your maybe typical meeting, so thank you for bearing with us on that. I think we've gotten a lot of public stuff for and against. I know Carol had some comments from before. Would you like to use those or say those now, Carol, or,
Sure, I'll take my turn.
okay?
First, I do want to say that I support the whole business aspect. And, you know, I sympathize with the heavy equipment users that they want this service, but it has to be placed in a proper position. And I don't think South on 27, anywhere down there is appropriate. And one of the reasons is I know the comprehensive plan says that it should be a commercial corridor, but I know all of you have driven around and gone into towns, and when every time you drive into a little town, it's industrial or something all the way in, it's not very welcoming or friendly. South on 27 is the only approach to Hayward that has retained a atmosphere that is welcoming, it's residential. Yeah, you got a bar, you got a wilderness walk, you got, Price Right. It's nice. And to me, this is spot zoning, and how we can zone 1.25 acres commercial. Danzig alone, he said 120, I looked it up, there's 29 acres zoned residential. All along 27's residential, all along Anderson's residential. And And even more so, this kind of facility, to me, is not commercial. It tends to be more industrial than commercial. And I think it's gonna affect their property value. And it has been mentioned already tonight, the housing shortage in Hayward. Why would we want to jeopardize a nice community where we can encourage more housing rather than discourage housing? So that's one point. And then I do want to touch on the noise, because they said, it's a highway, so you got noise, so it's just gonna be more noise, whatever. And John touched on it. Jeff and I live on the river also, and we hear LP, but we don't hear the cars. We hear the Jake.
We lost you, Carol.
You still there? It seems like she's talking, but we can't hear.
Yeah.
There we
There
go.
you are.
We lost what you said. You started saying, I think, Jake break. Hello?
Internet is.
Okay, yeah, okay, I'll start. Jeff and I live on the river, and, we're by Price Right, and we hear everything on Highway 63. And it's because it's Jake brakes, it's diesels, it's big trucks. We don't hear the cars. And on 27, I'm sure Scott and Charlotte are sitting in their house, and they probably don't hear the cars, but they're gonna hear that semi stop to back in and move, and back in and move, and it's not right. I'm strongly opposed to this. I know we have a plan, it is a guide, and if we were to go and review that plan, I would say, no, let's keep one area of our town nice. When we have a rezone on Highway B, we tell them they gotta put in trees and we gotta make it look nice and blah, 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 blah. And here, now we're gonna go and say, okay, well, let's just put in this great big blacktop driveway and haul in a bunch of semis. I'm sorry, I support the business, I don't support the location. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Carol. I just want to clarify too, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Andy, but I think it's when you're in the highway district, overlay district, or the highway district, that is where the screen of trees.
Highway B is a highway overlay.
District, and that's why anything on there is usually the
Right.
trees and everything else.
It's
is the
because
highway
it's a
overlay.
county road, not a state highway.
There you go, and that's why we deal with that on B, but not on 27, so.
Can I?
Sure.
In regard to the comments, I've heard a number of comments on the plan for our town, the comprehensive plan for the town of Hayward. It really is not going to be 10 years. It's something we need to start very soon. One of the reasons I want to be off the board at that time is to try to participate in planning that new document. And not too many people were interested when it was well advertised that the plan had to be done. It's from the state of Wisconsin, and by statute, they proceeded doing their job. And there were, I think, 19 people that started it. So in 2019, when it was passed, that starts the clock ticking. And at that point, this community has to evaluate, where are we going 20 years from now? And so in 20 years, I'm not sure I'm gonna own a house. I may be in the same nursing home with you. So we don't really know whether that's going to be necessarily a residential area, but we can plan ahead and establish that. There's no reason it cannot be changed. As you said, it's a guide. So I don't see it as necessarily spot zoning in this case, but I do feel that we need to revisit the plan. And I was not in favor of the development across the street in the town of Bass Lake or in the town of Hayward. I feel that area definitely is a residential area. I agree with that. And I'm wondering if there is any way that there could be a restriction on their property, that if they do sell the property, it reverts. I don't think you can.
I don't know if that's legal or not to do
Right.
that, that's a problem. I mean, I understand the rationale
Or maybe
behind
you
it.
can do a conditional use or something like that, but,
But
I very definitely understand they own this property, they want this business. They're willing to work for people like Mr. Cryer and Mr. Poppy. And in my case, my company was out of business for almost 2 months because our great big dump truck sat and sat and sat for no reason at all. And it never got repaired. We ended up taking it down to Eau Claire. At a considerable expense, but it was to save our business. I would feel very strongly about their business if it was primarily going to do business on site with the large things and maybe doing very small vehicles or utility pieces in their shed. I definitely understand your issues with water runoff and the potential for saturation into the soil. I understand that, and I do believe there is a good concern there. As far as noise and air pollution, that part over there, you're underneath the plume. I don't see how you could get any more smells from the highway. All of those semis are going in and out of Hayward, logging trucks and so forth. I don't think that's necessarily a very strong argument. However, you're right. You don't cut off your toe because your finger hurts. That's why it was a very, very difficult discussion at the comprehensive plan board meeting. We struggled with this, and I'm still struggling with it. I will be very honest, I find it very difficult to make a decision. But keeping in mind, that plan is not something that's set in stone. It's a guide, and it's made to accommodate for future development. It's primarily to guide boards like ours, Bass Lake, to try to guide communities in one direction or another. And we can choose not to follow it. So right now, that's what I have.
I have a couple of read through the whole zoning thing I'd like to share.
Okay.
To be quick.
The zoning thing, which is the zoning.
It's a Class A highway, so it has to be 130 feet from the center line. That's a requirement. Also, off-street loading, which was discussed, is not legal. It doesn't, any commercial or industrial building hereafter erected or placed on a lot shall be provided with sufficient off-street loading and unloading space so that no public streets or alleys need to be blocked by such activities. So that's not allowed.
Correct.
We're
Yeah,
planning
we're,
for that.
yeah, we're planning for that.
Then,
That won't
Have you guys
happen
already
on the road.
addressed these issues?
Yes, yeah.
but you realize too that by changing it to commercial 1, and then if your business does well and you move on, which us older people, we've worked hard, we've done things, we're a little bit different level than you are right now, but we started out here and then we moved to here. And the likelihood that you will stay in that place and continue that business in that place for beyond 10 or 15 years is highly unlikely. I just don't feel that lot is big enough. I don't, like Carol, not against your business, I think it's needed. I just don't think it's the right place, because I know there's room for growth, and that's the whole idea of having a business, is to grow your business. You're saying you're a one-man show right now, but if you get more people coming in and you can actually handle more, I guess I'd recommend, I just don't think it's the place to do it. I'm not against you in particular, but 1.25 acres, I have a lot that's similarly shaped to yours, but I have 2 acres where my house is. And I'm thinking, how do you navigate? You have to move a shed over to the other side just to make the space. And I know Vita and Dick Sunderland, that was their home, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And right across the street in the spring every year, there's a big pond of water that sits there because the water table's so high. So Deb's concern is very real. You know, I was married to a lawyer. Everything leaks and it's just the nature of the business. There's hydraulic hoses, there's fuel lines, I've helped repair skidders.
Yeah, and there's mitigation for that, a containment system underneath.
But you're
the
talking about
vehicle.
once it's there, but getting
Sorry.
there, driving there, backing up, sitting there on your driveway. That's what I'm just saying that's the reality of it. And I understand that because I lived that life too. I don't have heavy equipment per se now. My UTV is my biggest heavy equipment. And I'm not against your business or younger people who are industrious like this. I think it's great, but I just don't feel that it's the right location. I'm sorry.
Can I have an opportunity to address some concerns?
Just give me 1 second.
Oh.
You want to talk about this first?
No.
Just wait 1 second, sir. I just wanted to state this too. Again, I agree with Andy that to me, this is a tough one.
It is very tough.
I understand that a comprehensive plan is saying that commercial is allowed in this area. However, when you look at the reality situation, it is all residential. And we can all have a esoterical discussion about spot zoning, which is not technically illegal, but it is frowned upon and something that I, for myself, would tend not to agree with, okay? Or going in that facet. So I too, it seems that there is a need for this business in the community. But it seems again that because of the nature and the location of it too, there are size problems, there are other issues potentially. And again, to me, my biggest thing is that even though the comprehensive plan says it's potential commercial on this 27 corridor, I'm looking at what is actually there. And like I said, it is residential for the majority. So to me, that's what makes this the hardest part about talking to rezone. Because like I said, the guy obviously knows what he's doing. I think it sounds from some people too, there is a need for this. So, I mean, to me, this is a real tough one because there's a need for it. Obviously the neighbors don't like it. And to me, the sticking point is again, based on what the plan says is allowable versus what is actually there right now. And that to me is kind of the part that I'm getting hung up on. Sure.
I think we also shouldn't get hung up on what's there now as tightly, because at my stage of life and yours, we know that if the bar goes and Wilderness Walk goes, and somebody comes in and they want to put in a big warehouse there, and they want to bring in equipment company to work on vehicles, there would be no way that you could refuse that because it's already commercial, correct?
Yeah.
So the homes that are there, as those homes change hands, they can also decide to be, well, Mr. Danzig thought maybe agricultural.
Commercial might be good.
Yeah.
My plan might be go up a lot.
Yeah. But, and also there were some issues with our GIS when we were looking at the mapping thing. It was incorrectly marked. The county had, and I hope they've corrected that by now.
No, they're up to 300 feet off in any direction.
Okay.
GIS line, so that's why I caution anyone who looks
Yeah.
at the GIS stuff to understand. Stacy will be right there in just a second.
Okay, so I'm just saying that in 20 years, when I'm no longer around, and we've already had 3 more boards since me, my opinion here should be consistent with what's good for the community at large in the future. So that, for me, that's the conundrum. How do you judge what the future is going to bring?
Well, again, yeah, that's a little bit tougher for any
There
board.
could
And
be a big gas station where the bar is now.
this is what brings me back to the industrial thing with the hospital, is that
Right.
everyone said the hospital's gonna be there forever. but then why should we get it rezoned to
Exactly.
industrial? So that's kind of my concern.
Jump through a lot of hoops to change that.
Sure, and I was hoping most of the public stuff was done, but Stacy has something I think she'd like to add.
I'm just asking you to call the vote. We're getting down a rabbit hole. I'm just asking to call the vote.
Okay, thank you for that recommendation. So, again,
Can I address anything before the vote?
There's been several inaccurate statements.
okay,
made,
go,
and I
go,
think it's
go ahead and
Yeah.
try, state what you feel has been inaccurately stated, or try to correct that.
To avoid confusion, so fluids on the ground, the works that is performed on site will be performed inside a shop with a concrete floor, and the drains on that concrete floor lead to a holding tank. The oils, all oils,
As well as equipment in the driveway, we'll have containment put underneath the equipment when it's parked in our driveway to avoid spills. This
Yeah.
won't be free flowing fluids.
to blacktop the entire lot or the driveway, I think adding impervious surface isn't the right way to go. Because all that, you'll have that much extra runoff compared to what you would on the building. As far as semis delivering, there's semis delivering in the businesses all on Highway 27 there. Any commercial business has a semi bar, they have,
Delivery trucks.
yeah,
going in and out
distributors
of
going
there.
in and out. As far as, what I can offer different than what the other repair shops in the area is advanced diagnostics and repair. To put it comparable with the repair levels that you can receive in your, larger cities. As far as the commercial zone or the commercial lot that's, in the right of way, I don't know if that is allowed for billboard use, because that would be commercial use very close to this area. If that is something that, that could occur with the DOT right away there. And again, we live on the property, my daughter lives on the property, we're drinking the water on the property, we're eating from the garden that's on the property. Our goal isn't to destroy the neighborhood. We want to have a good neighborhood to live on with running our business.
And, yeah, I get that, and like I said, my own issues have not as much to do with that as you do, so. I guess we're at a point here, does anyone on the board want to make a motion on this rezoning?
I make a motion to deny.
I'll second that.
And with what findings of fact?
Well, it would be damaging to the rights of others and property values around it. I don't think it would be,
It would be number three.
compatible with the surrounding areas.
That was number three, protect property values alone. And I think too, it doesn't encourage planned and orderly land use development because it's not in line with what surrounds it. And promote the public health, safety, and convenience, general welfare.
What number is that?
Number one.
Okay, so we have a motion, has there been a second yet?
Yeah, Carol.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to deny this rezone request to commercial. Is there any further discussion by the board before the vote on this? Okay, all those in favor of denying this rezone request on Highway 27 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed to denying this rezone request signify by saying nay.
Nay.
The vote, oh. Okay, well, technically the vote's 2-2 because I did not verbally make a vote because I did not hope I had to. Shit. All right, I guess it's gonna, I will vote to deny. So 3-2 to deny the rezone. Thanks for that. All right. Number 10, Highway Department, sorry, Rob, it's been a long time. You're standing back there. I did let him have one question for you, number 5 on your thing there. Who will be handling compliance letters for snow plowing violations? Is that a question you're asking us? I take it?
Yes.
Okay. Everyone else has a monthly report for the Town of Hayward Highway Department. Number 5 on there is who will be handling compliance letters for snow plowing violations down that we have no police chief? That's a question coming from the Highway Department, so I guess we can try to give him an answer. And, this is gonna be, how does this work then, Rob, usually where who finds these violations in the first place? The chief of police did? Or did you find some of them, then, relay them to him?
We report them in the snow plowing, and John would follow up on them. If they were, one-time incidents, whatever, we let them go. We know who the problem children are.
Okay. Since we are in transition with our legal department, our law enforcement department here, would someone on the town board like to step up and be the point person to contact these people?
What is the snowplow violation?
You wanna explain it to her, Rob?
It is illegal to plow snow out into a road or across a road.
And in the past, Mr. Lang would notice some of the, violations and reporting to the police who would then start that process. So, we're gonna have to have,
Can our highway department check this?
well, do you want that responsibility on top of you, or do you want some kind of board action or some board cover with some of this stuff?
I just as soon see the board or the person responsible for us not having the chief handle it.
Well, being that I'm the chair, not that I want it, but I will take on that responsibility of being the point person between the highway department and the town when it comes to issuing snow plowing violations or snow plowing issues, unless somebody else on here would like to do it.
Do you have an outline of the process to have that happen? Is it just a letter?
John, we'd report it to John, we'd give him an address, he would follow up with a letter. I assume he just had a standard letter on our letterhead that he would send.
There's nothing more immediate than that? I
No,
mean, you don't want, if you've got snow falling, you don't want people to continue to do it. I know, the reason I'm interested is I noticed that was happening.
Mhm.
And I saw, even on my own road, on Sawmill Road.
Yeah.
That two different homes had pushed their snow across the road, leaving a double ridge on the road. But I didn't report it because I knew there's no one to go. So they would just send a letter?
yeah, John would send a letter and usually that rectifies the situation. I don't know if he ever issued any citations for it.
I think there was one out on the.
Because usually, that's all it took was just a slap on the hand and people stop doing it. But everybody starts out the season or tries to get away with it, especially if you get a big snowfall or a big snow year. People run out of room, so.
So again, the process where you find some violations, you notify either the clerk or myself, and then the clerk can send out a letter to them. If we try to do that process, I mean, is that your recommendation?
Sure.
Okay, does the board agree with that? Okay.
Sounds good.
Any other questions for Rob on the highway department report? Okay, hearing none, we're moving on to 11A, the fire department. We have a monthly report. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Hamlin?
We had talked about getting together for the, doing a review of your policies and organization. Can we still work on getting that done?
Yep.
Or have you started it?
I have not
Is there a committee that you could maybe get from the fire department?
Yes.
I think that would be a great way to begin. I would like to see this happen before we pass.
Is there, who else would be on the committee?
I had originally volunteered to be there, but I see we have a resolution to form an ordinance committee that's coming up, so I don't even know if I'll be on that committee.
Okay,
So you might want to proceed with that.
will do.
And hopefully by next month, legal have already looked at the fire department ordinance stuff and the volunteer fire fund, we'll have that ready to go. By February. Yes, sir.
Just a comment, it wasn't in my report, but some follow-up. The city voted to table the
Auto aid,
aid agreement discussion last night at their city council meeting.
were you present at the meeting?
I was not.
Okay. Cause I wonder what the rationale to table it was. Cause I thought they were on board with this whole thing in the first place.
I was under the understanding that it was their idea, but now I have mixed opinions.
Okay.
approaching it, so I don't know.
Thank you for that update.
I think we still made the right decision.
Okay, well, yeah, I thought this was all kind of a done deal and now they're tabling it. Okay, thank you for that though. Anyone else have any questions for Mr. Hamlin?
Do you want me to, should I ask Carol if I should sign this for her and put my name under it or something, or?
Do not sign it, her name
Oh,
on
I
there.
don't, she can't sign it.
I understand that, but
Okay.
we're gonna have to,
I can scribble.
well,
She broke her arm.
I
You have a quorum.
I understand, but we gotta fill this out and I gotta get that back to the clerk and do some stuff. So, okay, well, 13, we have the police department issue, just to bring everyone else up to speed. At the special meeting on January 3rd, we sent out requests for applications for new chief of police and new deputies. That's where we're at right now. I know there's a lot of difference of opinion in the town about a lot of things, but where we're at now in the election process and everything, any issues going forward, I think should be addressed in the future. And right now, we felt it was a responsibility for to start the process of sending out feelers to try to look for any applicants who are maybe interested. So that's where we're at with the police department. 14, the facilities plan committee. Gabrielle, would you like to speak?
Then I looked at the notes, those are the notes from our meeting in November. We didn't have enough people there, we didn't have a quorum for December meeting, so we didn't have a valid meeting. There is nothing new to report on this. The only thing that I was wondering about the new members, Gary and Stacy have signed up to become members. And I'm just wondering about Stacy. I've been aware that she also is running for the board. And just want to point out that she cannot be on both.
Yeah, is Stacy still here? Okay, Stacy, yeah, just so you know, I think when we were at that meeting too, you had asked me if I was on the facility committee meeting. And I guess I should have explained that night too, that the reason there are no board members on the facility committee meeting, or on the facility committee, because that was the way it was designed, was to not have people at the board sitting and making decisions on the facility. So the way it's worded is if you are on the facility planning committee, and you're a board member, then you can't be on the facility committee. Just so you're aware, if you win the election in April, that then it would, you have to get popped off the facility
That's
committee.
fine, there's no guarantee I'll win, so the facility is a good start.
Sure, just so you're aware of that, 'cause I forgot to mention that at that December non-meeting when we didn't have a quorum present.
So have those applications been filed?
Yeah, here we have the application, from Ms. Hessel and Mr. Nathan, right here. So, okay, so you provide your monthly report, and again, from what I understand, we are at how many members right now currently? 5, 7?
With Stacy and Gary.
No, right now, yeah, without them.
Without them, we have 5.
Okay, so, and that would make, 7 with the members, I think we're up to 9 yet. Well, I think we had a discussion here a month ago that we were, I think I mentioned
7.
about knocking it down to 7, and then there seemed to be some discussion about keeping it at 9. So for right now, from what I understand, we have a 9-member facility committee up to, well, according to the ordinance, it's up to a 9-member, and we have not changed that yet. So,
I don't think that we need 9 at this point, because we go forward with the facility building and with the plan on that, and then Cross Anderson will probably direct a lot of the work, and so facility planning committee doesn't really has that much work to do. There will be one or two persons that will be involved with that are tied to Cross Anderson. So I think we'd probably be good with 7, unless the board has any concerns about that. I don't know what the original thought was of having 9.
A broader membership by the community, more representation.
The community doesn't show up, they don't come for the meetings, they don't show up.
We have a hard time getting quorum when there's 9. And again, I wrote this subject a month or so ago that maybe going down to 7 would be beneficial. I maybe remember incorrectly, but I thought there was some discussion back and forth about whether that wanted to happen or not, and now it's back on the table of doing it. So again, that was gonna require a change of the facility ordinance. Well, it's require a change to it, and so I'm saying that's gonna, obviously not something we can do right this second, but again, I have it under future agenda items for something to look at. So we do have the 2 new members.
Do we have to do anything to vote them in?
Yes, I believe the board's the ones that appoint them in. So I was about to say, we have 2 new applications, and this would make up to 7 members now on the facility planning committee. So we have the applications from Mrs. Hessel and Mr. Nathan to be on the facility committee. So I would entertain a motion to
Don't
approve.
make motion to accept them.
I'll say.
Thank you. Everyone's fighting
Everybody
over the
wants to
second.
Yeah.
All right, we have a motion and a second, to accept the 2 new members to our facility planning committee. Is there any further discussion on this topic? Okay, all those in favor of accepting the applications signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Aye.
Very good. Members are approved to the facility planning committee. And just on a note of that, I believe your next meeting is
Tomorrow
Tomorrow.
at 6 o'clock.
okay, just so you're aware of that. All right, moving along. 15, old business. The Veterans Memorial. I don't know how many of you have been following this, but for the last 5-6 weeks or so, there's been talk at Surrey County to do some type of county Veterans Memorial. And from my understanding, it was going to take about $250,000 from something called the Resource Development Fund, which from my understanding is used or tagged, marked for repairing dams and bridges and maintaining other county property. And it was going to be taken to purchase a lot in the city, I think the old Dairy Queen lot, and build some type of Veterans Memorial. Just to bring everybody up to speed, since our last meeting was on the 10th, on December 12th, I had a conversation with a board member from another town, and the idea struck me that, town of Hayward has 8 acres. And with the cost that I was seeing of buying this property and remedying the property or prepping it for the memorial, the idea came to me that maybe the town of Hayward would be interested in opening up a dialogue with the county, because we have enough area for whatever kind of thing they want, and it would probably save the taxpayers some money. We had a special board meeting on a different topic that was scheduled for, I believe, the 18th of December, where we also had this on the agenda, and the town board voted to go along with the letter I sent to the county saying, hey, we would be more than happy to open up a discussion to have the Veterans Memorial on the town of Hayward property. So that is, I just want to let everyone know that's where we're at. I have contacted the county this last week, contacted the county administrator. I asked him what the status was with anything, because the town of Hayward had not been reached out to, and he advised me to watch the administration meeting that had occurred last week and to take notes from that. So that was what I was told by the county administrator, which I did do that. So as far as I know from watching that video, it seems that the issue at the county has been tabled. And I'm not sure if until the February meeting, I believe it's on the administration committee. But so that's where I understand it is now at the county. I believe from my understanding, it may be tabled till next month. And there may be some type of ad hoc committee going on in the future. I'm not really sure, but that's pretty much the story of the Veterans Memorial and how the town of Hayward got involved in it.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Who tabled it? The county board?
I think it was the administration committee, but I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that's what it is. So the county board on December 19th, the county board voted 10-4 to not purchase the old Dairy Queen property. So I believe there was an intent to purchase, and they voted 10-4 to not purchase it on December 19th. And like I said, I sent the letter, my idea on the December 12th. The town board had a meeting on the 18th and then sent that to the county too. So that may have played a part in that. But right now, since that 12-19 meeting at the county, as far as I know, everything's kind of in a holding pattern yet. So, I also did get contacted by some residents in the town to talk about this issue. I don't know if anyone's here tonight that wants to talk about this from the Veterans Memorial idea. Yes, sir.
I'd just like to thank the town for offering that property, to the veterans in the area for possibility of putting up a memorial, so, thank you, it's very gracious. This is a project that I don't think we should go head on to, let's do it right, do it once, do it right. If it's in this property, let's just take our time and get some money raised and do this right.
Could you state your name, please, too, sir?
Mike Poppy.
Mike Poppy, thank you. That's what I figured.
Mike, you're speaking as a member of an organization.
The Hayward Veterans Association, and the president and the commander of the American Legion.
Thank you.
Rick was gonna be here, but he was busy tonight. Rick Richter's the commander at the, VFW, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Stacy?
I don't know if you want me to address it as your supervisor for District 4, but, so this was an idea, just a concept that we developed as a county board. It was voted on in November, I believe, just the concept was, and that passed. So that has not been tabled. It was a slow your roll kind of moment. So we're looking at a lot of different pathways forward. And so we're just, have to do right by the taxpayer and make sure that the MOU, the property maintenance would be agreed upon. We encourage every township to make their own Veterans Memorial if they so choose to do that. But we don't want to pick one township over the other. We just want to find the ideal spot. So the ad hoc committee, they tabled us moving forward. But in the meantime, we're allowed to talk to veterans associations, talk to different people. If land purchases are advocated for, then it goes to the county administrator. At some point, then the administration team will let us talk about it again. But you are correct, it has been tabled, but we will still favor anybody that wants to bring ideas forward to move the well-deserved. But any township should do it on their own if they are so capable.
Stacy, can I ask a quick question?
Yep.
Is that the Sawyer County Ad Hoc Committee, blah, blah, blah?
No, it's the Sawyer County Administrative Committee, and we haven't formed any ad hoc besides that. It was talked about forming that, and that's what got tabled. So right now, it's still under the Administrative Committee. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. And again, from what I understood, a lot of the talk too was about not taking property off the tax roll, which is something the town of Hayward could provide. And again, I know there's some conversation from some members of the county board about, whether it's gonna be just, flagpoles or a park, and there's some confusion over the word park. To me, it's just, if Sawyer County, and again, I understand this idea maybe about picking a township, but you're picking the city if you're gonna do it in the city too, so it's gotta be somewhere. So it's gotta be somewhere in the county, and the county's made up of parts of everybody else. So I just look at it as, if we wanna do something small, fine. I think everyone in this room and everyone in the county is for a Veterans Memorial. I just felt at the time that, given the amount of money that would have been needed to invest in that property to be able to get it up to where we're going to be doing a memorial, just didn't seem, there seemed to be better options. And I really hope truly that perhaps there could be other places that come up in the future that are even, maybe the town of Hayward's not the perfect place. Maybe there are even something better. But that was kind of the hope. And again, I think the town of Hayward is very beneficial. We're lucky to have the location we have close to the city with the acreage that we do have, because not every township is that fortunate to be this close. And I know it's a little bit off not on Highway 63, but it's still relatively visible. So I look forward to what the county is going to be doing going forward on that. But as long as everyone knows, the town of Hayward, as we've offered to be of assistance of any way that we can, and to talk about anything, even with maintaining stuff in the future. So, okay, that's the Veterans Memorial 15A. 15B. And this, I should change the wording on this. It should be an ordinance committee resolution, not ordinance. That was a mistake that we had with the agenda. I kind of composed this. It's up to the board whether you guys want to approve it and start the whole, this is kind of officially making a resolution that starts an ordinance committee. It would consist of 5 members, of which at least 2 are gonna be board members. So that was kind of the idea behind it. If anyone has any comments or wants to make suggestions and changes, we can do that and deal with it next month too. So, but this is the draft I have right now.
So is this in response to your not finding minutes that
I have yet
where
to,
we originally formed this committee?
okay, I found minutes that said the committee was created, but again, doing my own searching and stuff, I was told that having a resolution is the cleanest route
Right.
to have it, and that by stating certain things of what the committee is doing, it's a lot clearer for everyone on the committee as opposed to just
Right.
reading minutes that are from, what, 10
Exactly.
years ago. So it just kind of clear everything up, kind of like the fire department ordinance too, just to make sure everything, all the
There's
i's are dotted.
There are a number of things in our ordinances that this committee needs to tackle, which is the difference between an ordinance and a resolution. And when do you make a resolution and when do you make an ordinance? And so that is, we have many, many ordinances. And not all of them should have been ordinances. So this would be a clean way to deal with that. I would like to do this resolution, however, when the full board is here.
Okay, and that's something I'm ambivalent to, if we wanna do it now or wait a month. And also that will give you guys time if you wanna read through it and have any suggestions to wordings, I'm fine with that. It's just that once we get this approved, then we can start the process of that ordinance committee and start digging into some of these ordinances and looking at things, so.
You don't have this one?
I can get you a copy. So on 15B, we're gonna table that for a month?
Yeah. I
Um,
don't think we need a motion. Just,
okay, I like to do them that way, but
if you want a motion, I'll make a motion.
I'd love one.
Okay, I'll make a motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to table the ordinance committee, resolution stuff until February. Any further discussion on this? If not, all those in favor of tabling it signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Nay, thank you very much, that's tabled. Okay, new business. This is something we discussed last month also. The ARPA funds, we have already allocated them. We know where they're going. All of these resolutions are to finalize it. And so, I mean, it's everything we've already discussed before. This is just the documentation to make it official, and I was told it's we've already approved and spent, we just need to fill out the forms to make it.
Do we have to make a motion to accept these resolutions?
Yes. So I would even entertain a motion to accept, resolution 1224A, 2012, 2024B, and 24C.
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
I'll
So-
second it.
I have a motion and a second to approve resolutions 12-2024A through C, which are to officially show where we're allocating our ARPA funds. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of approving the resolution signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? The resolution's carried. A, B, and C. Finance Committee. There's talk about the need for a finance committee. I would like to delegate this to someone on the board, multiple people or two, and to start coming up with some type of wording of something. Okay, and even, if you wanna work on a draft, or you wanna work with Carol or Andy too, that's great. Just somebody come up with a draft, then we can start picking at it and looking it over, and then deciding what we want. That would be great.
So a draft to define what its responsibilities are?
Yeah,
Or
and
the
kind
job
of,
description.
and I can give you a copy of this, and we can look at other ordinances or just, again, we're saying what the formation, the composition, the duties, responsibilities, meetings, I mean, we want to lay those
I
out.
never got it.
Okay.
Get money.
Yeah, there you go, so, here, I got a second copy.
And it would also outline how often and when that finance committee, because you need to identify whether it's a finance committee of the board or if it's a finance committee of the community working with the board, like the facility committee, or if it is led by a person on the board and it's a community finance.
We can figure that out.
Well, that's what I'm just
Right.
saying, because I won't be writing it. Those are some decisions that we'll need to make along the way.
Yep.
Because it's very different.
And again, with the ordinance committee too, I said they shall meet regularly or as needed to be determined by the town board. So I mean, if we don't need to meet every month, we don't
And
need
will
to.
they be paid?
And that's something too, the details that need. I think the standing thing right now is if you're on a committee or commission, you can pay $50 a meeting. That's for the planning commission and facility, so I imagine it's the same for every committee, finance and ordinance that we're gonna have, so we'll have to budget for that too, going forward. But at least it's only 50 a person, and only 5 on the ordinance committee, we'll see how many are on the finance one. Okay, so we're working on the finance committee, and we'll tackle that going forward, correct? All right, 16E, we have an operator's license, I believe the name is Thomas Stars. Since Chief Costum is no longer here, Bryn has access to something running background checks, so she ran the background check, that all cleared. So I would entertain a motion to approve the operator's license for Thomas Stars.
Motion.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second to approve the operator's license for Thomas Stars. Is there any further discussion on this? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, nay. All right, that carries. Operator license granted. The Surrey County Ad Hoc Committee update. We talked about this at the December meeting, and the board was so kind, I guess, to let me represent the town of Hayward at the Surrey County Ad Hoc Committee dealing with zoning stuff. The first meeting is Thursday, the 16th at 3 p.m. Jay sent out a what he called a survey monkey, and he said due to the survey that he picked this day, and it was the one day that I chose would not be convenient for me, but it was the one that he selected, so that's how it is. But 3 o'clock, January 16th, Thursday, in the meeting room or the conference room at the courthouse. If you're not able to make it, it also should be available online when they post everything to their website. But I gotta double check with them when I'm there. Almost everything that happens in the county, they record and post, but I'm not sure if an ad hoc committee will be, but I believe it will be.
It's
So,
on there.
okay, the ad hoc will be.
It's already on there, so.
Okay, well, I was wondering about the minutes, like the video of it, like the video of the recording, are they gonna post that afterwards, like they do all your committee meetings? That's what I'm wondering about, so. So is there any questions about that? Great. 16G, health insurance renewal. From what I understand, we have 2 employees that we're doing with health insurance right now, so this is a renewal of our security health plan. I think the percent rate change was 6.71%, which is manageable considering what everything else has gone up in the last year.
That's not just.
So, I would entertain a motion to approve the health insurance renewal.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the health insurance renewal for our handful of employees, 2 employees in the town of Hayward. Is there any further discussion on this issue? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of approving the health insurance renewal for the town of Hayward signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, the health insurance is renewed. H, this is board bylaw concerning public participation. This is something you sent, Andy, as an email. So, how would you like to proceed on this? Or what is your idea?
Okay, there's been a number of conversations over the last year or 2 concerning transparency, and whether or not, the public, should be interacting with the board at the beginning of the meeting, at the end of the meeting, whether there should be just a free flowing of information and direction from the township to the board. And I went out to do some research on this, and I found that, I found a template essentially for public participation at board meetings. It's recommended under Legal 19.90 Wisconsin statutes. And it is used by a number of school boards in the state. It's also used by a number of towns in the state. And if anybody would like to have a copy of it, I would like the board to read over this very carefully and interact with it personally and see how it feels. And the public should take a look at this. And also, I'm going to ask Bryn if it can be put even on our web page. But essentially, to permit fair and orderly public expression, the board shall provide a period for public participation at every regular meeting of the board and publish rules to govern such participation in board meetings. And the presiding officer at each board meeting at which public participation is permitted will administer the rules of the board for the conduct. I would suggest that this also not identically be the same process that we use for committees. We do use something like this for the planning commission because we're a state body. And the laws of the open meeting law applies to us. And making decisions based on interactions with the public that are not pre-published is illegal. So this prevents violations of the open meeting law. And by the way, board members can be fined now up to $1,000 apiece. And they pay that personally. The town does not pay that. The city does not pay that. The state does not pay that. Each individual person who does not follow the open meetings law, which was written in 1972, and I think it's still just as legitimate today, has to be held accountable. However, if you have a board like this all meeting and we all agree to discuss something with the public that is not on the agenda and make a decision on it, every person on this board is culpable at that time. And so we take the onus on this, not the community. It's something that the state takes seriously, the judge takes seriously. I think it's something that we really need to make sure that our public, when they come to meetings, that they understand the open meeting law. This covers everything that would protect board members, council members, commission members, committee members from any kind of charge of violation of the OPM. Wait a minute, open meeting law, OML.
And yeah, for most people here who don't go to every meeting, I think there's been a couple of times over the last couple of months where I, as a chair, kind of stated, we have to not talk about this because we have to keep stuff that's on the agenda. So, I mean, that's the thing, we post the agenda, we can't necessarily talk or make decisions on anything that's on the agenda. I think most of you who show up regularly understand that.
And it's pretty complex, the whole law is pretty complex. There's walking quorums where if Gary throws a nice soiree and we're all drinking cocktails and we're discussing Christmas and our children at his house, and the board shows up and there's a quorum of the board at your party, the very fact that we're at your party is a violation of the open meeting law.
If I call two board members to ask their opinions about an upcoming agenda item, that is a violation right there. Even if I talk to each of them separately, I have talked to now, there's two people plus myself, which makes three, that is a quorum discussing the same thing. So I hope a lot of people understand too that this is our one chance to discuss a lot of this stuff too. We do not have conversations back and forth because that is illegal. So this is the time we all get to sit together and talk about all this stuff too.
One of the other things that I would like to mention is, again, I always revert to a committee-style government. In committee-style government, you have a facility committee, a finance committee, an ordinance committee, planning commission, and the work is done by the committees. Committee structure is a little bit different than operating here. If the board is interacting with committee members and they are, if you're a member of a community group, for example, or an ad hoc committee or administrative committee, you bring a report to the board reads your report, and then we discuss it together. That's the beauty of a committee-style government. When a board is, that's why I was very much in favor of an expanded board. When a board is made of 3 people, nobody talks. There's not enough people to have committees. There's not enough information flowing back from committees that is legal. So the board is always stuck in this conundrum, again, I use that twice or three times tonight, where we stumble and trip ourselves up, even though we know what that law is, that we may talk out of line in public. And we just can't do that. $1,000 is a lot of money, and it can be multiple offenses.
In one meeting. In
Yeah.
one meeting, you can have 10. I thought it used to be $300. I must have to find.
Right, why not?
Okay, that's good. So that's that. I agree. We should get that posted to the website so everyone has an understanding of that.
And we can discuss this, we can discuss this in the future?
Sure,
Okay.
sure. And again, I want to preface that too, or conclude that with, I know it's 9:30 at night. We had 3 things on our agenda with the rezones and the CSM, but for better or worse, I do appreciate people showing up to the meetings and people who have feelings on certain things for or against. I encourage them to show up and talk, and like I said, that does make the meetings last a little bit longer, but I appreciate that. Okay, 16I. Oh, this is something we discussed last month, but never voted on because it wasn't on the agenda, but now it's on the agenda. How does the board, I thought we were all in agreement about this. How about today was the last day we have a town board meeting at 7 p.m. and we change that time to 6 p.m. Because especially now, it's 9:30 at night, we could be done at 8:30 at night as opposed to 9:30. So I think we were all, this topic was broached briefly, and I have a feeling we're all on the same page with this, but if anyone has any discussion they'd like to make about this topic, feel free.
I'll make a motion to change our board meetings going forward to 6 p.m.
6 p.m. on the second Tuesday, as
Yep.
opposed to 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Um,
And also, if we could post at the bottom of our minutes.
Yep.
Post all the future meetings as proposed, and then if there are any changes, we can go back to our minutes and look at our minutes to see when the next meeting is.
Okay. All right.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Carol. All right. Motion and a second to change the regular town board meetings for the town of Hayward time change from 7 p.m. on the second Tuesday to 6 p.m. on the second Tuesday. Is there any further discussion on this item? Great. All those in favor of changing to 6 p.m.?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We are changed to 6 p.m. going forward, so everyone in the audience make notes of that, or make sure we do our right thing when we post stuff and don't keep saying 7 o'clock. 17, monthly vouchers. As,
I'll make the motion to approve them.
thank you. I have a motion to approve the vouchers for the month.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the monthly vouchers. Is there any further discussion on this item? Sounds great. All in favor of approving the monthly vouchers, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Vouchers carry. Budget review monthly financial report. I don't know if we,
There's not one.
I was gonna say, I didn't find that in my packet, but I have a lot of paper in front of me. So I guess we're gonna deal with that next month, and the clerk is not here to.
Table that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's something that we need to vote on, but I like to vote on things, so yes, Andy.
Could Bryn forward that to us so we're prepared for the next meeting?
That's why they were so adamant.
Yeah, I'll let you discuss that with her.
Okay.
Just, I don't wanna answer questions for other people.
She was still waiting for the budget review.
Oh, are you talking the audit yet? Or,
No, just the monthly.
oh, the monthly, yeah, she should, I don't know what the issue was this month, but, and I'd like to find out too where we are with, Clifton Allen Larson with their audit too, because I haven't heard from that in a while, so.
So do you want a motion to table that until we have?
Well, we have, every month we have a budget review, a monthly financial report on our, I mean, yeah, we don't have anything to review, so I don't know if we just leave it be or if we need to carry it over because it's on our monthly agenda every time, so. But you know what, let's clean it up. How about I'm looking for a motion to table the budget review month and financial report until the next month.
I'll table the budget review and monthly financial report until next month.
Okay, I have a motion. Can I please have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second to table the budget review monthly financial report until the February meeting. Any further discussion on this item? All those in favor of tabling it, signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries to table it. Future agenda items, I already wrote down what Gabrielle's talking about, potentially the facility planning committee ordinance change with number of members that can be considered. Is there anything else that obviously we tabled some things tonight that are probably gonna be coming back around. There was gonna be a future agenda item with a blanket special use permit that has been withdrawn by the county. And in its place, we have received 22 individual special use permits. I am currently in conversation with the applicant as to their intentions and how this is going to proceed. But that will probably be on the February agenda.
So that's the thing.
Yes. And like I said, we'll get into that when it's on the agenda.
I hate to clutter up an agenda, but the time is growing short for me.
For potentially many of us, yes.
Okay. I believe the board has an obligation to create a basic board policy and procedures manual for the incoming board. Our current board members should make this happen since they're the ones with current experience. We need a special meeting to set up the priorities and discuss the particulars just to get the ball rolling. We have a skeleton that could be fleshed out in a couple of hours that was started 3 years ago. When I arrived on the board, we developed and the board accepted a revised employee handbook, complete with job descriptions and explanation of benefits for all employees. At that time, we also discussed creating the board policy and procedures manual. And I still have documentation on that. And also Wisconsin Towns Association has a good deal of information on how to create that. And the other part of that, which is really important, is a backup plan for crisis situations or impending disaster, like suddenly not having a police department. What do we do if 3 board members die? Or move out of town or suddenly quit. Town of Hunter being a good example of what can happen to a township when the board all quits at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm thinking nobody ran again.
Oh.
So you've got a whole new board.
I'm like, what? I have property there, I didn't.
Yeah, so
I think the
John,
board's gonna look different in Hunter, from what I understand.
Okay.
so John LeBlanc is the chairman. He
The only
doesn't,
candidate, the only registered candidate.
nobody ran against him, so, things like that happen. But we do need a backup plan for crises. And it's not the same as a firefighting, a forest fighter plan or what happens, what I'm talking about is if the town hall burns down. If Bryn suddenly quits, who has the passwords, who knows where the files are?
Yeah, I understand that. Would you like to spearhead this?
I can start it,
Okay,
but I can't probably finish it unless I am allowed to be on the ordinance committee.
well, again, right now, again, we'll discuss that when it comes time, but I think, I hear what you're saying, and I have no problem if someone wants to start fleshing some of that stuff out, by all means. So, do we need to vote on that? No,
I
it's
don't
future-
think so.
future
I
agenda
just
item.
want to throw it out
Yeah,
there.
okay, I have that on my future agenda items. Okay, we're at my favorite part, number 20.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barry.
Do I have a second?
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor of adjourning the January 14th monthly board meeting for the town of Hayward, signify by saying aye.
Hi.
All
Aye.
opposed.
Anybody
Thank you,
else?
meeting adjourned.